Let me start by saying thank you to everybody else, because it's nice of you to come along, and I hope you've enjoyed chatting so far, and I hope that Chris and I between us don't bore you too much over the next 10 minutes or so, and we will then come back and chat with you on tables. And if you've got any questions, if you're in the room now and you've got any questions for Chris, then you can ask them when we are floating around for the rest of Laptop Monday. If you're watching this in the Laptop Monday Facebook group, or on my YouTube channel, or indeed anywhere else, because clearly it's going to take over the internet, or maybe not, who knows, then you can't ask Chris questions in the room, but where it's posted anywhere, I will also post a way of getting in touch with Chris, so that if you do want to chat with him about anything that he's said, then you can do that. So enough of the preamble. I thanked everybody else. Let me thank you, Chris. Thank you very much. I know you're a busy boy. You're running Agency Local. You're on Clubhouse for 37 hours a day, and you're doing lots of other things as well. So thank you for being here and sparing us the time. And we decided that we were going to talk today about how to choose an agency, or how to select the right agency. So before we answer that question, I think a really good question to ask you is, what do you mean by the word agency?
Well, that would help, wouldn't it, to clarify that, because there are all sorts of different agencies. You're right. My definition of agency is a marketing agency. So that is any sort of business or enterprise that is involved with that marketing process. So it could be anything from, right at the beginning, strategy and planning, through to things like brand, design, print, media, promotions, web development, e-commerce, and all the gambits of digital marketing. So, SEO, pay-per-click, social media, all the way through to different elements that contribute to that. So things like photography or video or copywriting, they're all sort of businesses that contribute to that marketing process. That's my definition of a long-winded definition of an agency, as opposed to recruitment agency or anything like that.
I shall copy and paste it into Wikipedia later. So there is a phrase with which I am familiar, which is full service marketing agency. And that would be an organization that does all of those things and more. And sometimes their employees do all of those things, and sometimes they farm out work to subcontractors. So they will get their favorite photographer who's not on the payroll, but he's their favorite photographer to do whatever it is, and this video man and this graphic designer and stuff. But it does mean that they are project managing that whole thing and taking responsibility for that whole thing. So before we tackle the question, because I've got another question before we tackle the question about how you choose the right agency, do you have a preference, and do you think that people needing the services should have a preference for, in effect, project managing it themselves and getting some photos done and getting a video shot and getting a web designer, and they piece that all together? Or should they be using a full service marketing agency and just walk away, just get it done?
Wow, that's an interesting question.
I try.
I know. First of all, the term full service is a term I don't particularly like, because it not any single one business can do everything, and you see more and more now things like full service digital agency. So actually, they only do the digital part, but they do all the elements of digital. And I think that's potentially one of the questions that a lot of businesses have is exactly that. Do I go to specialists, or do I go to somebody that can actually manage the whole thing from end to end? In some respects, it depends on the marketing capability within the business. as to how well they can control that. So, in smaller businesses, it's often, the owner or the MD that has the marketing hat, or there's a sort of a marketing exec in the business. So if they have the capability, then one option is to go and cherry pick the best of the best for different elements. But then the onus is on the business to coordinate that. The advantage of going to a full service agency is that they manage that process. They manage everything. They should have as long as they've got a good understanding of the business, and then how they deliver it is almost irrelevant. The fact that you either have an in-house team or you outsource that, it's almost to the business, as long as they get the job done and the results that they need and want, then how that is delivered is up to the agency.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that the same sort of question and answer applies to lots of different things in your life. If I want work done on my house, if I want my windows replaced, I go to a window man. If I want some pointing done, I go to a pointing man. But if I want a full refurb with this and this and this and this, I go to somebody who can do the whole package however they choose to sub it out. I'm just interested in the outcome, and you organise the plumber and the electrician to turn up on the right day to do what they do. So I think the same goes for that. So it leads me to the real question, which is ostensibly why we're here today. Ostensibly is my word of the day, by the way. And later on, I'm going to look it up and find out what it means. So how do you choose? How do you, if I want new headshots done, I know about 37 photographers, all of whom would say me. And if I want a new logo, I know about 37 graphic designers. And if I want anything done, I know a bunch of different people. And they will all say, unless they're really, really bad at marketing, in which case I don't want to use them, but they will all say, I'm good, use me. So how do I discern?
Well, and that is the challenge for a lot of businesses. I think that the marketing sector is a saturated market. There are all sorts of, as you say, if you want a photographer, there's 37 photographers out there that you could use. And so there is an abundance of choice. So then how do you choose? Well, it's really, really difficult because, once you've sort of made that decision, do I go for somebody that can do everything or do I go for specialists? If you're going for specialists and managing it yourself, then, you've got that problem or that challenge, times however many different things you want doing. I would, I liken it to, if you like, if you're looking, so marketing agencies need to understand your business and what you want. So the analogy that I've got is around, they translate your business to your audience. Now, taking that step further, if you were looking for a translator, right? And to, say you wanted to talk to somebody in German, right? So would you pick a student who's learning? I can count to 10 in German. I can get myself to an airport in Germany. That was the one thing I learned in German, was to get myself to an airport to get home. But would you use those as somebody that's sort of learning on the job? Or would you prefer somebody that's sort of got, can understand the language, sort of in a pidgin vocabulary? Vocabulary isn't necessarily, too extensive, but they can get past. Or would you want somebody that's fluent in that language?
Absolutely. I want the best. There is no question. Sometimes I can't afford the best in whatever it is, be it translator, graphic design, or whatever. There's perhaps an argument that sometimes you can't afford not to use the best. But hey, you still, a Ferrari might be the prettiest sports car, and you might be able to sell me one for 50 grand, which is an absolute bargain. But if I haven't got the 50 grand, then can't do it. So, is it about checking out past work that people have done? Is it about getting references from people that they've worked with? Because the outcome might be fabulous, but the working experience may have been horrible.
Well, exactly, and there's a whole know, like, and trust element to what, when you're choosing an agency. Do you actually get on with them? Do you understand their processes and how they work? That's before you've started to look at their sort of capability. But you're right. I mean, I would urge people definitely to get references, or that's why referrals are so strong. When somebody refers somebody, they normally refer them because they've done a good job. So ask around, ask what other people are doing, who they're using, but more importantly, what are the results that they're delivering. And I think the getting you can check out their star ratings on FIFA, on Google. There's all those sort of background checks that people can do. But if you're talking to an agency, get some references. Get some customers that they've talked to and talk to them. It's all very well. A lot of people ask for references. They get given the details, but they never actually follow those up. Actually talk to them and work out what their experience is. And then, you can, I would say, before you engage an agency, have a chemistry meeting. See if you get on. Talk about it. See understand what their processes are. Understand if they know your sector. Understand if they've done the similar job for other people. It's those sort of things that will really sort of set one apart from the other.
Yeah. I think it's very valid to say to actually talk to the people who've used them before, because even if you email them then and say, hey, what do you think of that, you'll get a shortish reply. It may or may not be truthful. I wouldn't rely too heavily on it, but to actually have an off-the-record conversation with no audit trail, I think they're much more likely to say, well, yeah, it wasn't bad, but, or the thing you got to look out for is when he promises X, you might get Y. So, I think that really is a top tip, to actually have a conversation with former clients. And I think the trouble with asking for references, if you ask me for credit references, okay, because I want to open a credit account with you, I'm going to give you the two people who I pay on time, and everybody else I pay 3 months late, but you don't know that. So if I ask a web designer, tell me 2 websites that you've done, because I want to talk to the owners, and they'll tell me the 2 where they know that the owners were happy, or at least they'll say they were happy, but they won't tell me about the 37 where they won't. But most people in marketing are quite good at marketing, and if they are a web designer, on their website there will be stuff, maybe in blogs, maybe on tweets or whatever, going back over a period. I did this website, I did that web. So choose for yourself, pick your own references, pick the ones that you want to do, and that way I think you're much more likely to get an unbiased opinion rather than the 2 that they particularly like.
Yes. Yeah, no, I would agree. And the other thing is that most agencies will have examples of their work and who they've done it for on their website. So another source there, exactly. And as opposed to just asking them directly, you're right. If you ask for references, you're not going to give people that you didn't deliver a good service and fell out with, are you?
Correct. I can think of a few people who won't be giving me as a reference as a customer, but hey, let's not go there. I wouldn't want to cast aspersions in public or in semi-public. Okay, I think we've had about 15 of our 10 minutes, so we should probably draw to a close. Is there a key thing, maybe a key thing to avoid, a key thing to look out for, to be wary of when choosing somebody, a pitfall that is a common mistake?
It almost goes back to that full service agency discussion we had right at the beginning. I think it's the coronavirus of the marketing sector. It's the inability to say no. So, you'll go to an agency and they go, "Can you do this?" They'll go, "Yes," and then work out how to do it later. So yeah. I would say, you can still have an agency that does the majority of what it is that you need marketing wise, but like you say, they probably won't have a photographer on their team, so they will use somebody else. So there's nothing wrong with you saying, "Well, can you use this person because I believe they're an expert in this area?" So there is that happy medium. But I would make sure that that they can actually deliver and have experience of delivering the service that you actually need, and that they can demonstrate results. That is a key.
Yeah, I think the wrong question is, can you do this? The right questions are, have you done this before, and for whom? And can I see that work, please? And that's a whole different approach. Yeah.
And what benefit did they get from it? What were the results that you showed?
Yeah. Somewhat unsurprisingly to me, you've been really useful, really interesting. Thank you. Good advice, good comments. If people want to talk to Chris Bantock, if they go to LinkedIn and put in Chris Bantock, there's not a lot of Chris Bantocks on LinkedIn. No. And if you Google agency local, then it should come out top if you've got your SEO sorted. But agency local is a bit of a broad phrase, so it might not. But if all else fails, get in touch with me and I'll be very happy to put you in touch with Chris. But for now, Chris, I'm going to say thank you very much.
Pleasure, Mark. Thank you very much for having me.